everybody, welcome back to Crandall Reviews. I'm Matthew Crandall. Today taking a look at one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins. I was lucky enough to see a Wonder Wednesday fan screening, and I loved this movie. It is everything the DC Extended Universe cinematically has been wanting. It is fun. It's got great action. It's got charming characters. It's got a ton of heart. And it will just slap a smile on your face for 2 hours. You'll have a blast, and you'll leave the theater feeling great. Now, my history with the DCEU is that I really liked Man of Steel. I didn't think it was perfect. The theatrical cut of BVS left me wanting. I love the Ultimate Edition of BVS, even though it's super dark. And Suicide Squad, I liked enough, but I actually like it less every time I see it. Now, Wonder Woman is a movie I'm going to see a couple of times, and I don't think I will like it any less over time. This review is not going to have any major spoilers. I might talk about some stuff that you know if you've seen the trailers, but in terms of actual plot points, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Now, just know, this movie is a ton of fun. There isn't a lot of stuff that can actually be spoiled in this movie because there's not a lot of surprises plot-wise or even character-wise, but it's just the thing that makes this movie so effective is it is handled so well and is so well done. The casting is spot on for the most part. Gal Gadot as Diana and Wonder Woman. In BVS, she was a shining light because she didn't have much to do, but everything else was so sour that she sort of stood out. And in this movie, she is still a standout. Gal Gadot brings a charisma, an innocence, and just a likability factor to Diana that is off the charts. When the movie begins, we're introduced to the island of Themyscira and the Amazons, and Diana is a young child. Diana wants to be a warrior, but her mother does not want her to be. She says, Diana is not supposed to be a warrior. We can't train her like everyone else on Themyscira. And eventually, Diana becomes quite a good warrior, but maybe the others feel she might be too powerful. She doesn't know her heritage, and they're keeping a secret from her that will be revealed as the movie goes on. Enter Gal Gadot as Diana. She's much older now, more refined, and Gal just brings a charisma to the screen that is charming. She's got so much heart, and of course she's beautiful. So immediately everyone falls in love with Wonder Woman in the theater. She meets Steve Trevor, the first man she's ever seen, and she finds out that outside of Themyscira there is a great war going on. Now, she believes it is her responsibility to help end the war, so against everyone's wishes, she goes with Steve Trevor to London during World War I to try and take down this threat. Now, part of the charm of this movie is that Diana meets Steve Trevor, and instantly her and Pine have an amazing rapport. It's like Howard Hawks sort of dialogue between the two of them, and there's just a magnetism, a charisma, and a charm that they have. And when they're on the screen together, it's dynamite. It's just fun. Everybody's going to really like this pairing of Pine and Diana, and it just will leave you smiling. They've got some hilarious lines, and it's believable. You believe that they like each other. You can sort of see that unfolding. It doesn't feel forced. When Diana goes to London, she's kind of a fish out of water because she does not know the social customs. She's not used to seeing things like men or babies, and they really play a lot of that for laughs. But the nice thing about this movie is that sometimes a fish out of water movie, somebody can be naive and innocent, but the filmmakers treat them like a dum-dum. And in this, they don't do that. Diana is never stupid for not knowing about things. In fact, even though she doesn't know some stuff, she's well researched in other areas, and even if she's never had to practically apply a lot of stuff, she's got some smarts there. And I appreciated that even though she is a fish out of water, they never treat her as stupid. It's always with reverence, and they really know that this character is a Wonder Woman. She's, stands for truth and justice, and she will do what it takes to get it. And she believes that, the innocent should remain that way. And there's lots of good themes there that really, in our day and age, are nice to see reflected in our heroes. And make no mistake, when she has to kick butt, oh man, does she kick butt. One of the scenes that is the best action sequence of the movie for my money, and just that goosebumps moment, is we get a small glimpse of it in the trailer when Wonder Woman is on the battlefront and she's in her full Wonder Woman regalia and goes into no man's land. And in the movie, the Wonder Woman theme kicks in and she kicks ass. She goes, and it's just a fantastic sequence. That whole 15 minutes was just tons of action, just great visuals, so physical. Patty really did a great job in that sequence, that it's going to be one of the most talked about, fun, fist-pumping sequences we've had all summer, and certainly one of the strongest action scenes in any of the DC movies from this universe to this point. Now, I really do like a lot of the supporting characters. Like I mentioned, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright are both quite good on Themyscira, and then when we go to the real world, Pine is awesome. Lucy Davis as his secretary, Etta Candy, is hilarious, and she's got some funny moments with Diana. David Thewlis is good. Danny Houston is one of the villains, and he's great. I love when he just sort of chews the scenery, and he can be over the top, and there's something smarmy and sleazy about him, and to make him, a war criminal seems like perfect casting. I love the female villain with her mask like Richard in Boardwalk Empire. She was badass and smart and evil, and I like that there are these people in this movie who are, evil geniuses, but this is a movie that, for the most part, is pretty grounded in reality of the war and gas warfare and all that kind of stuff, and that was really well done and handled well. Steve Trevor has his own sort of group of misfits that he recruits to go on this mission, and while I enjoyed them, people like Ewan Bremner from Trainspotting, a lot of these characters are just kind of there, and they try and give them some unique characteristic, like PTSD or good at singing and playing piano, but none of it translated into me actually caring about them or liking them, and I felt that some of their moments that we tried to give them more than they actually needed, because Diana and Steve were carrying that part of the movie that I didn't need them to try and make these 2D characters 3D, which is usually my main complaint, that they don't give these characters enough depth. But in this movie, they tried to give some of the side characters a bit more depth than I thought was deserved, and they don't quite pull that off, and I didn't care for them as much. So whenever we were getting sort of the moment of their, backstory or whatever, I honestly didn't care. But that's not to say that I wasn't entertained, but that's just a small nitpick. My other small nitpick of this movie, so I would say it is probably my favorite DCEU movie so far. So when I get into these small nitpicks, I don't hate this movie. Just know that I still love this movie. I'm going to see it a couple of times. But the small things are the very beginning action sequences are not as well staged as the later ones in the movie. I felt that some of the stuff on Themyscira was a little choppy, and I didn't quite feel it was as jaw-dropping as the rest of the action, but that's fine, because as Wonder Woman develops, that's where we get more of her power and more of the great action. Also, they telegraph sort of a surprise in the movie so heavily that when it becomes a surprise of the movie, it's a surprise to no one, and they play it as like a surprise, but it, like I said, it's so telegraphed early on, anybody who's seen a movie will know that that's the thing that's going to happen, and it sort of cheapens it a little bit. And that being said, the big final boss battle has some great dialogue between Diana and the villain, with their two different opposing philosophies about humanity, and I really liked those moments. Were quite good. However, the final boss battle goes on for quite a bit and did feel very video game like. If anybody saw, and nobody did, King Arthur Legend of the Sword, the final battle in that is very similar to the final battle in Wonder Woman, and it just pulled me out of it a little bit, because everything else was working so well that then we have this long extended final battle that could have been cut in half, no worse for wear, and we could have dialed back on a little bit of the apocalyptic CGI, and I still would have felt that the movie was just as entertaining. I didn't need that over-the-top CGI spectacle towards the end, because everything else was so human, so filled with heart, and so charming that it just started to feel like the finale gets that every comic book movie, end of the world apocalypse sci-fi special effect crap. So let me know what you thought of Wonder Woman. Like I said, anything I mentioned in this review that was negative barely impacted my enjoyment of the film. Even if it ran a little bit long for me, I still loved it. This is a movie people are going to flip out for. It's the movie the DCEU absolutely needed right now. I can't wait to see Justice League, see what they do with Wonder Woman in the future, and hopefully Patty Jenkins will come back for a Wonder Woman 2, because she just knocked it out of the park, and I can't wait to see more. So hit the comments, like the video, let me know what you thought of Wonder Woman. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and thanks a lot for watching. Diana is right. He should be proud.